What up, Christopher?
Hey, how we doing today, Dustin?
Good, good, good. Welcome back to Little Talks for Peak Performance. We took about a year and a half break, but we're back.
Excited to get it going again.
Absolutely. So, a couple of quick housekeeping items. We are going to try to produce these weekly, at least for the short term, and we're going to try to drop them every Wednesday. So they'll go on all the podcasting services, but we'll also, and where we intend to put this is YouTube. And you can find all the best content there at YouTube. Obviously, you've gotten videos from us here over the last couple of years, updates, product updates, various updates through unlisted or private videos. And that's really the way that we like to communicate to the masses. So, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?
Good, doing good.
Nice.
Good, yeah. So, Gradient had a remodel here. Most people know about a year ago. They were in the throes of it, and we moved into the new digs in November. And they finally got our little studio up here at the office done about a month ago. So, really excited about it. It's really nice. It's uh, it's everything we ever wanted. And
It looks
you're
pretty nice, doesn't it?
yeah, you had to move your golf simulator out of the way so you could record this.
Unfortunately, first world problems.
I love it. I love it. Well, we are going to talk about some pretty cool stuff here today, and essentially three ways to start conversations about um, wills, trusts, and enhanced planning matters. And so, in doing that, we'll kind of go through essentially the three different ways. One of them has got a subcategory of even more, but in that, that's really for us just to tease. We're going to have an enhanced planning uh, podcast series, and we're going to drop that following this one. And for the next couple of weeks, we're just going to go through enhanced planning. We've had financial advisors that are using enhanced planning not only as a way to market and prospect, but a way to provide a much higher level service to the end client, or what I like to call is if you can make them an advocate, and really giving them the best opportunity to have not only the most successful retirement, but leave the best legacy as well to their loved ones.
Yeah, this has been a pretty big topic for us, Dustin, over the last couple of years. I remember about 10 years ago when Social Security was hot and it was kind of new to everybody and it was a little intimidating, but it pulled and pulled the people into the rooms. And so we've seen the same exact thing with this enhanced planning program. And so we're pretty excited to share some of these results and just some easy ways to get that whole conversation started.
Yeah, and I mean to think that Social Security may not be the hottest topic, but it's still the foundation of retirement income and helping individuals plan that. So, continuing on to provide the most comprehensive um, service or the most comprehensive planning to your clients is just another feather in your cap, for a lack of better words. So,
Hmm.
um, let me jump right into this here. One second here as I so um, really when we're talking about the the three ways we can jumpstart these conversations. I mean, enhanced planning should be a part of your client conversations for essentially one simple reason. It's a hot topic. And not just for your wealthy clients. You can provide value to clients by having these conversations, guiding your clients through helping them make decisions on transfer of assets to the next generation. You may be able to generate not only more referrals, but attract clients with higher net worth and really keep your higher net worth clients within your roster or your book of business. And so that really gets us to jump right into what it's going to look like. And the very first thing is
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is just getting that conversation started discussing the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So that's something that has been out there. It's obviously not talked about a ton, but it's coming. In 2026, the federal estate tax exemption. Right now, it's at its highest level ever, 13.6 million that you can pass on without having to pay any state tax on. But in 2026, that's going to be dropping to 5 million. Um, and so it's just another thing to get that conversation started. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, have you thought about what you're going to be looking like for your estate tax exemptions going forward? Do you have a plan to help? Um, just relieve some of these taxes. The last thing you want is to put a big old tax burden on your beneficiaries when you pass away. And that can be a pretty big deal to a lot of people that just maybe not don't have the assets available to pay those taxes. And so we got to be able to plan for that, especially with it coming just right around the corner. It's a good way to get that conversation kickstarted. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, do you have that plan ready?
Right, and the dream scenario for every advisor out there is, I wanna work with clients that this is going to affect. They have more than 5 million of assets that they wanna pass on or leave a legacy to. The, the matter of it is it doesn't necessarily going to affect everybody that, you work with, but what is important is it starts the conversation of, do we have all the beneficiaries lined up correctly? Do we have all of this set correctly? Do we have a will or a trust in place? Can we avoid probate? And really opening that conversation to where, you know, you're going to give them the best chance and the most ease of passing on that legacy and essentially, leaving what that looks like. And we'll get into that here in a minute. But the other thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've got a Tax Cuts and Jobs Act like presentation marketing system. It's a little micro, kind of like current event thing that we have individuals using as well.
Exactly right. And that's one thing we've noticed a lot of success with as well is using current event topics, stuff that's relevant to people out there and not just some random sales system, using what's actually going on in these people's lives. It gets a lot of people interested and opens that discussion, makes it a lot easier to get going.
Sure, sure. All right, so we're going to jump into the ask these 6 high level questions, and these are definitely going to help you spur these conversations. So, um, has your wealth increased more than 25% since the last time you reviewed your estate plan? That's pretty important, and that we've had high inflation, but we've also had a lot of growth in the market and a lot of growth within people's assets. I mean, some people's homes have doubled in price over the last 4 or 5 years just through, increased values.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's really an extremely important part of it is managing it from the day to day.
Hmm.
Number 2 would be, tell me about your choice of trustee or executor or successor trustee, and why did you choose them? Maybe that's something that needs to be reviewed. Has that relationship changed? Is that person still the best person to handle those needs for your your estate and your loved ones? Number
And
Go ahead.
to go along with that one too, just beneficiary designations on any current life insurance, annuity policies, make sure those are always correct because life happens. You always want to make sure you don't disinherit certain people. You want to make sure everybody's uh, I'd say set up properly to manage
Yeah,
that situation and that money.
100%, 100%. What and another one that can, essentially spur on the conversation is, what do you want your family picture to look like when you're gone? That's a pretty heavy question.
Oh yeah. We see a lot of times if you mismanagement of your estate can, I mean, it sounds sad to say, but it can tear apart a family. If you get caught up, like you said, Dustin, in probate and you're battling your family members, your kids might not be spending Christmases together after you're gone if you don't set this up properly. And that's obviously one of the last things that we want as family men.
Yeah, I don't know how this joke's gonna hit, but now we got the Paris Hilton rule. Are you concerned about negative effects of your wealth on future generations? I mean, it's a real thing. Like, what? what is that gonna look like? And how do you plan, and how do you manage, and how do you not just dump a bunch of money into somebody's lap, and, maybe you change their life for the short term and not the long term, and the planning that you do and the conversations you have can help cover that. Number 5, has your health changed since you last reviewed your estate plan? That's a big one right there. Has your health changed?
Oh yeah, I mean, how much longer do you have left? Because again, as we've said before, you've only got one shot at getting this estate plan right. You don't get to go do it, get a second chance when it's all said and done. So you got to make sure, okay, time wise, how much longer do we think? All those questions go are very important into making sure that you've got this plan set up properly, and maybe sooner rather than later, later than sooner. Who knows? But that's a big one.
Sure. And then under number 2, but we're under subheading 6, would be, how will the estate taxes and other costs be paid? And from which assets will that stuff be paid? And so that's a big question right there. Is, there are going to, in essentially after your death, there are going to be costs. Do you have, um what do we used to call that, final expense? People don't like the way that sounds, but it is your final expense. Um and so not only do we want to know how the taxes and all that stuff's going to be paid, but or at least help you navigate that so you don't put that burden on somebody else. But do we have a plan for all of the costs that come associated with, you know, moving on from this life? So, um, those are some great conversation starters. And I would say that even if you use just one of those 6 in that subheading, you'd be really a lot further down the road to helping excuse me, helping your clients, look and achieve what would be best for that enhanced planning.
Hmm. And you're exactly right. And it kind of leads us into number three on the next page. Just asking about their families and getting to know where the money is going to be going when they do pass away. We've got to have that plan in place. You know, one of the biggest, I'd say, scenarios out there I hear, and it's very unfortunate, but I'm sure you guys have all heard of Dale Earnhardt. He suddenly passed away tragically in an accident, but his estate was not set up properly. Everything ended up going to his wife at the time, who was the stepmom to his son, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Well, they didn't get along very well, and Senior did not have his estate set up properly. So, long story short, the missus, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s stepmom, was running the racing company, and they didn't get along, and he did not want to race for that company anymore. So you can imagine yourself as a dad. The last thing I would want would be my kid to go race for a competitor after I worked so hard to build this company, hopefully to leave it to him. But we didn't have that set up properly at the time, and so his son went on and to race for a competitor. And I mean, being a dad myself, I would not be a fan of that after how hard you work to get that set up. And so, but getting to know their families, who's important to them, making sure they're all going to be protected after the passing, but also that just does a good job of building the rapport with these clients, especially in that first fact finding meeting. I mean, you can ask me about my family and I'll talk to you all day long. And it's just one of the things that it's easy to get a conversation going. So that's why I think really getting to know their family and who's important, who's going to be making some of those, I'd say, last minute decisions in the final days, all of that's really important to being able to build a good financial plan for any of your clients.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, um, when, you know, you you're helping individuals plan, and you're putting together all of this stuff, you can completely rely on not only Gradient for the marketing of this enhanced planning, but we've already talked about some of this stuff, but we'll revisit the Case Central team and our Connects Me team and all of that stuff, the virtual advisor, the CRM that we provide to you, the financial advisor. But the real point I was trying to get at is you, when you're talking about all of this, the benefit that you can leave is the generational vault. And we called it a generational vault because not only do you have access to all the information that you're going to provide digitally to your clients, but they can give access to their beneficiaries, and those individuals can get in there and not only see all of the planning that you've done for essentially their loved ones, but they can get in and see that last will and testament. I mean, how often do the kids, I mean, not my situation, we're all still here in lovely Topeka, Kansas, but how often does somebody grow up in Topeka, Kansas, and then they live in San Diego, and their sister lives in Brooklyn, New York, and the little brother took a job with somebody in Paducah, Kentucky, but nobody's in Topeka, Kansas, and something happens, and now they need to have access to that power of attorney or whatever. And a lot of times you have to have the originals, but you can start planning. You can get into that stuff using the generational vault that Gradient provides to the advisor.
Oh, that's one of the best services I'd say outside of Case Central. That's going to be one of the best things to be able to offer your clients as a value add to them. And Gradient takes no credit for it. We created it for you, but it's this value add that you can share with your clients in seminars and any type of prospecting, saying this is what you get by becoming a client of ours, is this service. And like you said, Dustin, I've got a sister in New York. My I've got my sister in Manhattan, Kansas, Kansas City. So if something happened to mom and dad, we'd all have to go back to our small town, Ottawa, Kansas, and try and go through all the file cabinets and put everything together, see where the policies are. Because for the most part, a lot of these clients or prospects that you're looking for, they just have a shoebox of statements that they bring in. They'll drop it on the table and say, this is everything we have. But how hard is that going to be for the kids when they come in and when this situation happens and have to put this together properly? It's a very easy phone call for you, the advisor, to make, to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Kids, beneficiaries, come into my office. We've got everything all ready to go to take care of everything you need right here in this one spot. I'll show you the entire portfolio snapshot. It's right here. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's all laid out in front of us. And then what's nice about that is it makes it easier for you to bring the family members in as possible clients for the future planning with them as well. Saying, hey, I took care of mom and dad. Here's what we did for them. Here's what we can do for you. So that generational vault is huge. And just to reiterate, like you said, Dustin, just like Social Security back in the day, nobody was experts. You just went out there, you knew a little bit, and Gradient was there as your back office to answer any of the important questions, the big questions that you couldn't answer. That's what we're doing with enhanced planning as well. Don't feel like you have to be the estate planning attorney. This is just very high level. You want to quarterback this relationship and the situation with them. Let Gradient be the experts on any really advanced questions to help take care of, I mean, really anything you come across that you might need to answer.
100%. 100%. So, like we said at the beginning, we're gonna come here over the next probably month and a half with essentially a podcast series on enhanced planning, and we're gonna break it down by some subcategories. We're gonna get pretty deep into it and all of the things that need to be thought about with you, your clients, but most importantly, I would challenge each and every advisor that we work with to go and make sure that you are set up correctly and make sure that you've done all of the right things. And um, as I sit here and think about it, I have all these things that come into my mind. I mean, our succession planning university. I mean, if you haven't attended that, give us a call. We can talk about that and what that looks like. But you can help business owners transition their business as well after doing that, and not only the benefit to you, but what you can essentially provide to your clients and prospects. So um, I just lost my train of thought on the other thing I was wanting to bring up. But were you going to say something?
Well, I was going to make a little plug. We have coming up in October a new generation university training. Owns this enhanced planning program. I mean, he is killing it with the enhanced planning talk. Goes through step by step what his process looks like, how he approaches clients, some of his, we'll say, feelings story. Some of the situations that have happened to him or clients that he knows where they might have disinherited a kid by accident and really ruined a family. Those are things we all want to prevent. And Jeff does a great job discussing that. So if you haven't been up to one in a couple years, highly encourage it. It's always good to do a call it a business tune-up, so to speak, just to learn from some of the other top advisors out there. So I'll make a small plug for that coming up in October. If you're interested, definitely give us a call.
Absolutely. And, so that's not only been revamped and is all new content and things with new gen, but I talk about new gen as a process. And it doesn't matter what marketing you're doing, whether you're doing enhanced planning workshops, or you're doing social security workshops, or you're doing full on dinner seminars, or you're doing a radio show or a TV show, or however you're prospecting. The new gen process is the process, and when you put somebody right there into the camera and you start essentially what I call the sales funnel. And as you work them all the way through the process, utilizing and relying on our team, to then you pop them out the bottom of that. And obviously you hope they become a client. But at the end of the day, at the end of the years following, you want them to become an advocate, and all the services that you provide through what I essentially call the new gen process allow you to capture that ability to get a ton of advocates for your business. We'll talk about advocates in a whole nother another podcast, but that is one way where we've got I'm not going to say names, but we've got somebody in Texas that is absolutely rocking what I would call an advocates program, a client appreciation um, marketing system that they do a fantastic job. They literally just bought ice cream for whoever they wanted to last week on National Ice Cream Day, and
That was
put
pretty
it. I
cool.
I saw it on Facebook. They didn't even tell us they were doing it. I just saw it on Facebook. It's so cool, so cool. Um, so real quick, at the end of this, there should be a pop up. I'm gonna link um, the new gen podcast we had. We had Luke Lowen featured on that one, and we'll put that one on there so you can watch that. I think it's episode 4 or 5 from our first season. But yeah, really, really excited to be back. This has been a lot of fun. It's good to see your face, and
Good to see you too, buddy.
and we're really excited. The last thing um, I would be failing if I didn't say, please look at the number at the bottom of the screen, 800-407-4137, or you can email our team. We can get you all set up with the enhanced planning materials, the system, everything. We even got a third party that'll help you set up, wills and trusts and power of attorneys, and can have some calls to action on that. We'll get a little deeper into that in some of our other podcasts on this series. But I just really, really appreciate everybody taking their time to spend a little time with us today, and we are we're rocking it. We're back.
Let's go.
Have a good one, man.
You too. Thanks, Dustin.
Thank you.
The opinions herein may be from personal experience and may not necessarily be those of Gradient Financial Group, its employees, or affiliates. Any results, topics, or outcomes are for informational purposes only. Financial professional